Hi guys, this is Ananya and welcome back to my channel. This is my January book wrap. So this is the first month of the year and I only read 3 books. I have challenged myself to read 50 books in 2025. I always challenge myself to read 50 books and I just never get up to 50. I think only once I crossed 50. So hopefully this will be one of those years that I actually get to finish my challenge. And I have also challenged myself to read a lot more non-fiction because I really don't like non-fiction, and I do want to get into it. So that's why I am challenging myself to read a lot more non-fiction this year, and that is why I started my reading journey with a non-fiction book. And that is the reason it took me such a long time to finish that. So the first book that I read in January is this, Alchemy, The Dark Art of Creating Magic and Curious Science in Brands, Businesses and Life. So I picked this up because I thought it would be related to marketing, and it is. But this book is not just limited to marketing, it can be applied to various aspects of your life. And the main theme of this book was, don't always limit yourself to think rationally. Just dream of creating magic, and somewhere down the line you will make it happen if you allow yourself to be irrational. So Alchemy is a book which encourages you to ask a lot of questions, even if they are very stupid questions, because sometimes those stupid questions can spark magic. Great ideas are always not brought forth by logic. Sometimes you have to make mistakes and go the wrong way to actually land at a great idea. Since human behavior is very complex and unpredictable, we should not follow logic all the time. According to the author, the answer always lies between logic and psychologic. Coming to the book, I think the first half was really great. I was totally engrossed in the book for about 100 pages, and then suddenly it started to get very repetitive at times. So the author kind of droned on and on about the same idea for many pages, and yeah, that's where it got a bit boring, and I really wanted to finish the book, so I took my time with it. I really liked his ideas, but okay, there is a but. The author, I just found his voice to be a bit condescending, like he knows the best and that logic is entirely useless. That hint of arrogance and his condescending tone, that was not my favorite part. I would rate this book a 3 out of 5, just for those two problems. Moving on to the second book. This one is Zeba by Huma Qureshi. This one I picked up at the airport while I was traveling from Bhubaneswar to Kolkata. It's a really short flight. It's a 45 minutes flight, and I completed this book by then. This is a really short read and a really fun read. I was a little bit skeptical because celebrities being writers, they don't usually write that well, but I think Huma Qureshi wrote really beautifully. But I think Huma Qureshi has a really fresh voice. This was a really good read. So this book is about Zeba, who suddenly finds out that she is a superhero. Zeba is someone who's very, let's say, antisocial at times. She travels to Khudir with her family, and there she finds out secrets about her past and her birth. and she finds this guy who's supposed to be the villain, and of course there is a battle among the two. So things I loved about this book was Huma Qureshi's voice. That was very fresh. I don't think I've read such a fresh and distinct voice in a very long time, and she has that. She's funny and witty, and I absolutely love her acting, but that's a different thing altogether. This has a very interesting story. The backstories are really amazing. This is about a Muslim superhero, and I guess not a much has been done in that genre if you exclude Miss Marvel. But a burqa wearing superhero, I think that concept was fab. And I really liked her perspective on some of the issues, some of the stigmas which Muslims face, some of the prejudice. She answers those questions very, very beautifully. It's a very modern take on a Muslim superhero, and that is why I think this was a really great book. And there are some artworks done here. So these artworks are really great. And it was a really fast-paced book. That's why I completed it within a couple of hours. And this book just wasn't about the hero versus a villain. It was about the liberties and the struggle for freedom of Muslim women. I really liked that theme. So yeah, this was a really good read. And now coming on to the bad part. The one thing that I absolutely hated about this book is that there is no climax. Yeah, like when the main showdown is supposed to happen between the superhero and the villain, Huma Qureshi decides just not to write anything. She simply says that I am not a fan of violence, so you can imagine what happens on your own. But in the end, the girl wins. So that felt very anticlimactic. And yes, I wanted to... No. I was like really happy with the book, and suddenly she decides not to write the climax, and my happiness goes from here to here. So the reasons for me to like the books are really strong, and I really love this book. But the reason not to like this book is also pretty strong, because she did not write the climax. And I'm mad at her. But overall, this was a really good read. So I give this a 4 out of 5. And I request Huma Qureshi to keep writing. Just please don't skip the climax, because, you know, that could have been the most fun part. Coming to the third and last book I read in January, I read The Stolen Queen by Fiona Davis. This was my favorite book that I read in the month of January. So if you have seen my video where I talk about 25 book releases I'm excited about, this was one of them. In fact, this was the first book in that list. So this book is about Charlotte, who is an archaeologist. She's a historian. So there are two timelines. So presently she works at the Met, and in the past she was just a student and she went on a dig. So her dig actually reveals something very amazing, an amazing theory, but it would seem like she's also cursed because of that, and that is why she is now working at the Met and she doesn't go on digs. So she had a sad past because of that, and basically she never wants to go back to Egypt again, but her interest and passion lies. So she does write a paper, but to prove it she has to go to Egypt, and at first she rejects the offer. This is until Annie comes into her life. So Annie has an emotionally detached mom who's also sort of, let's say, abuses her with neglect. You know, by fate she comes to Met and she gets to be Diana Vreeland's assistant for the Met Ball. because she is really passionate about fashion and she has been visiting the Met as a kid with her dad. Something happens on the night of the Met when Charlotte realizes that her past is now colliding with her present and she has to go to find answers in the past. So Charlotte has to go back to Egypt to find all the answers, and Annie accompanies her. They go to Egypt to solve a mystery, and they do. I love this book because first I love history and I got to learn so many things about archaeology and the process of digging and Egyptian history to some extent. So that was really nice. I think Charlotte's motivations were also pretty strong. I was always rooting for Charlotte and Annie because they really make a good team. So yeah, this was my 5-star read in January. I really loved this book. I finished this book in 2 days because this was such an interesting read and I just couldn't put it down. So it was a fast-paced read and I totally recommend this book to y'all if you guys love reading mysteries and historical fictions. So this was my January wrap up of 2025 and I wish to read even more books in the month of February, and I would really like to know which book was your favorite that you read in January 2025, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye bye.